Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Here.
Mayor Males.
Here.
All members are present. And Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, Mayor and City Council, we have a request from the Mayor Males to participate remotely under the Just Cause provisions under AB 2449. Mayor Males is appearing remotely due to a health restriction, which would meet this definition. Additionally, we do have one other item that we must enter into the record. Mayor Males, can you disclose if there is anyone else in the room with you over the age of 18? And if
no one in the room.
Excellent. Mayor Pro Tem, we will need a motion and a second to approve the request to participate remotely under the Just Cause provisions under AB 2449.
Can I get a motion for Mayor Joe Males to participate remotely under the Just Cause provisions under AB 2449?
I'll make a motion to
And a
approve.
second?
Second.
City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Councilmember Kendrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilienthal. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Peterson.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0 to accept Mayor Males' request to participate remotely.
The invocation will be by Pastor Tu Yang, after which Council Member Lilienthal will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Tu Yang. I'm the pastor at the New Wine Alliance Church located on 210 West Menlo, Hemet. And before I pray for this procession, I would like to read a scripture, which is in Isaiah 43, verse 18 to 19. It says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a new way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Let's pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this wonderful night, for these people to come out here, and also thank you for our leaders of the city of Hemet. And Lord, as we gather here tonight, we request that you be among us, especially our city council members. And we lift tonight's meeting to you. And we pray that you guide each and every one of us and help us to lead the city of Hemet to a better future, a brighter visions for the city and its residents. And Lord, we also pray that whatever we do is for the best interest of the city. We pray all this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please remove your hats and join me in reciting our pledge. Ready, begin.
We will now move on to public comment. There is a 3-minute per person time limit for all general public comments on non-public hearing items. All who wish to speak, including council members and staff, need to be recognized by the mayor before speaking. For those that wish to join by Zoom, you will be asked to raise your hand if you would like to speak. Please state your name and item you are commenting on before speaking. We will take public comment for items listed on the agenda.
Correct.
What do I call it? Okay. Okay, so there's no comments for on the agenda, so we will take public comment for items not listed on the agenda. I missed. Terry Larned from the American Legion.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and Mayor, wherever you are. I'm here to talk about the Veterans Clinic that is going to be opening up on May 13th, a Monday, at 11 a.m. It's over at 749 Latham, just down the street here. We're expecting all the veterans, service members, please to come and join us at that ribbon cutting. It's going to be a great day because this has been something we've been fighting for a long time, and it has finally come to fruition. And if you are a veteran and don't like to go out to Murrieta or over to Loma Linda, go and have your records transferred over to our local veterans clinic now. They're even getting a lab put in there. It's really going to be good. I was just there the other day, saw my new doctor. He looked like he was 12 years old, but he told me that he did graduate and he is a doctor. But he is very enthusiastic about helping veterans, as is everybody there in the clinic. And by the way, they are hiring people there that are veterans. So when the guy came in, the RN came in to talk to me, he was also a veteran, which is very important because these are going to help veterans in the area and get jobs for them too. So it's very important. It's again, May 13th, 11 a.m., 749 Latham. And I just want to throw a plug in for our American Legion bingo. We now have bingo on Sunday afternoons, Monday evenings, and like tonight, Tuesday evenings. It's a great time. We got 3 days a week. So if you're interested in bingo, we now have that right here at our American Legion Hall at 124 North Ramona Street. And it's not too far from here either. So, and by the way, Joe, speedy recovery. Come on, you can do it. Come on, Marine. Anyway, thank you very much.
Next speaker is Ernesto Alvarado.
I'm here to comment on the corruption in Riverside County. If you believe that the Santa Ana weather modification program was responsible for the heavy storms earlier this year, you may be right. In 2022, I was working for UNFI. On September 9th, I filed a complaint at work. Then on Monday, 9/12, my next day of work, there's a fire at the warehouse next to UNFI. It was just a bunch of boxes. On 9/16, I'm forced off the premises and they send the police to my house and claim that I quit. On 10/12, I received a letter from UNFI that was intercepted by March Air Reserve Base. On 10/28, I filed a complaint with the San Jacinto Police Department for working in collusion with UNFI. That's a long story right there, but they threw away the complaint. That same night, there's an evacuation in San Jacinto, a chemical spill, chemical leak. On 2/26/2023, I notified the EPA about the fire and the chemical leak and list UNFI and Riverside Sheriff as suspects. 2 days later, there's 4 military helicopters flying by. The very next day, we get hit with snow in San Jacinto. Snow in San Jacinto. That storm covered Big Bear, trapping hundreds of people for days, but that storm began slightly before that. Sounds crazy, right? 2023 began with 2 Riverside sheriffs being murdered. And by April, there was like four of them dead. The rest were by accidents. And this is the first time in something like 13 years. So they said I quit and I had to appeal my unemployment case. I requested that the HR manager be subpoenaed. On November 16th, I received a call, 2023, I received a call from the Unemployment Appeals Office requesting more information. That morning, there's military helicopters flying around. They're in the area for about 2 hours. I took 4 photographs of it, following me around as I'm going for a walk. Directly overhead, the last photograph was at my house. Those pictures got removed from my phone. I wonder why. Not only that, but my hearing was postponed due to circumstances beyond the control of this office. The HR manager never got subpoenaed. I won the case. I recently filed a lawsuit against UNFI. It was accepted, then placed under screening. Okay? If you notice, all these events involve UNFI. Civilian complaint number 26552 against Chad Bianco, number 2328, filed December 2nd, 2022. December 23rd, I called around to the Moreno Valley Sheriff's Department and the Riverside Sheriff's Department trying to figure out who's responsible for the roadblocks for the fire that took place on September 16th. You guys know what happened next. Here's a headliner for you. Riverside Sheriff's Department continues to kill Riverside residents at an alarming rate. This is what was sent to the Attorney General, which began the investigation that they started in February of last year. All this corruption is going to end. Thank you.
Whoops, excuse me.
Like to call Josh Siebel.
Me mute, me mute, me mute, me.
Good evening. My name is Josh Seibel, and I'm a Public Works employee for the City of Hemet and a recent addition to the SEIU bargaining team for this round of negotiations. I am here today to represent the hardworking individuals that help keep our city running smoothly day in and day out. We are excited and optimistic for what we can accomplish together in pursuit of a common goal. By investing in its workers, the city invests in its future. A fair contract is not just a win for us as union members, it's a win for the entire city. It ensures that we can continue to provide the essential services that our residents rely on and maintain the highest standards of excellence that our city deserves. With hopes of an open dialogue, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to progress, we can craft a contract that reflects the values of fairness, equality, and an opportunity for us all. On behalf of all Union City employees, we present to you this signed petition to show our unity in advancing our future prosperity. I thank you for your time and your commitment to making our city the best that it can be.
May I have MK, please? Is it Mike? Okay, looks like MK to me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, everybody. I'm here again because I haven't heard from the chief, Ariano, because we still have some problems with restraining orders. These people keep harassing us and threatening us, and we don't feel safe anymore. I have some video footage about these people keep harassing us and threatening us, stalking us, filming us, and we just need to see what police can help us with this situation where lives they're in danger. My mom is in danger and my brothers and my family. I just need to find out if the chief can give me a solution. He told me that he's going to be calling me, but I never hear from him or other lieutenants. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
I'd like to call Donald W. Park.
evening. My name is Donald W. Park. I live at 311 Via Capri here in Hemet. My cell phone number is available. I'm a retired naval officer, having served 24 years and 4 months at the tip of the sword of freedom on 7 separate aircraft carriers. So if I go over my allotted number of minutes, cut a sailor some slack. I'm a 100% disabled veteran with severe service-connected mental health issues. Please hold your questions and comments until I've completed my statement. Thank you. I have 2 items to bring to the council's attention tonight. The theft of $9,582 by a citizen of Hemet and street sweeping parking violations. On November 6th, 2023, I reported by mail to Captain Arellano of the Hemet Police Department that in 2021, a citizen had fraudulently obtained $9,582 in COVID Paycheck Protection Program funds and possibly unemployment funds as well. I have the name, I just don't want to announce it. In my letter, I reported to Captain Arellano that this citizen falsely claimed to be operating a jet ski, motorcycle, and ATV repair business from his garage to obtain both COVID-19 funds and unemployment funds. My neighbor shared with me at the onset of COVID-19 that he would apply for these funds. I consider my actions in reporting my neighbor's allegedly illegal activity an official criminal complaint. I was contacted later by Corporal Hall of the Hemet Police Department concerning my criminal complaint. I gave Corporal Hall an internet document proving my neighbor did receive $9,582 in Paycheck Protection Funds and told him I would testify against him if necessary. Corporal Hall said that the Hemet Police would let my neighbor know that they were onto it. For several weeks, I tried to contact Corporal Hall to get a status update on my criminal complaint, but Corporal Hall was not ever available and did not return my messages. On March 9th, 2024, I mailed a short letter to Corporal Hall asking for a status update via telephone call and gave him my number. Almost 2 months later, I am yet to receive a call from Corporal Hall. Later in the afternoon, approximately 2 weeks ago, I called the Hemet Police Department asking for Chief Puss, who was gone for the day. I requested to speak to the watch commander and was told he was out in the field. After another call to catch the watch commander at his desk, I was directed to Sergeant Cunningham's desk, where I left a message. With 2 calls that night, each more than an hour apart, I tried to reach Sergeant Cunningham to no avail. With the 3rd call to Sergeant Cunningham sometime later, I was curtly instructed by the dispatcher to stop calling. Frustrated to no end, I sent an email to my District 3 councilman describing my experience with the Hemet Police and asking if he would help me arrange a one-on-one meeting with Chief Pust. 2 weeks later, I'm still waiting to hear from my councilman. Maybe I should run for his seat. I have twice written to the FBI Assistant Director Alway in LA concerning this possible theft of COVID funds with no acknowledgement whatsoever from him or any of his agents. I reported this alleged crime to the Small Business Association Inspector General and to Mac E. Jenkins, Chief of Criminal Division of the United States Attorney's Office. This alleged crime involves wire fraud, bank fraud, internet fraud, computer fraud, and tax fraud. There may have been more fraudulent loans by my neighbor and his wife. Chief Pust took an oath to uphold the law and support the Constitution, the same oath that obligates me to report this possible crime. Chief Pust's oath refers to all crimes, federal, state, and local. I respectfully request that Chief Pust cause an immediate and comprehensive investigation to be conducted to include interviews with myself and my neighbor and to determine if a legitimate and lawful business existed at that location and determine if business receipts, tax records, and work requests exist to support such a claim.
Mr. Park, you're already over your time limit.
Okay, I got 2 paragraphs left.
Okay.
If Chief Pust, if my neighbor had income from the business and did not report that income on his tax return, that's another issue to be reported to the IRS. There is no predicting what a good detective may dig up. If Chief Putz produces a conclusive investigation to the appropriate federal agencies, I'm sure those agencies will pay attention and act. P.S. My neighbor for some time has been operating a used car business from his garage. So lastly, I'll say is, a citizen ignored is a citizen insulted and a vote lost. I won't discuss, I'll come back another day, we'll discuss the lack of parking enforcement for street sweeping.
Kevin Pearson,
Good evening, City Council. Kevin Pearson on behalf of Eastern Municipal Water District. I would just wanted to come tonight to invite both the community, the council, and city staff to an event that we are hosting on May 2nd. May 2nd is California Tap Water Day in celebration of really the core service that we provide as an agency at EMWD. And so as part of that day, we are actually doing a tour of all of the cities within our service area, where we are bringing our hydration station van. It's a van that we've modified that has several tap water dispensers on it. And we bring this out to community events throughout our region to really promote the tap water quality that we provide at EMWD. And so we're going to be making a stop at Hemet City Hall at 12 o'clock till 12:30 on May 2nd. And we want to invite the council, city staff, and the community to come out and join us, get some water. The first 15 folks who come join us will receive a free water bottle as well. And we'll have Savvy the Water Drop, our mascot, in attendance with us as well, if you want to come grab some pictures with her. But definitely we appreciate the partnership with the city, and definitely invite the council, come take some photos and have a nice tasty glass of EMWD tap water and celebrate the day with us as well. So thank you so much. And if there's any questions, you guys have my contact info and can follow up as well too. So, and I've got some flyers I'll leave with the city clerk right now as well. So
No Patrick?
no, Patrick is not making an appearance. The character that the councilwoman is referring to is we also have a wastewater mascot, Patrick the Pooh, who is quite popular and has gotten over 100,000 YouTube views as well as part of our wastewater education program. He is not joining us, just Savvy, but we can certainly arrange another opportunity for Patrick to stop by as well if requested. So awesome. Thank you to the council and city staff as well for the partnership. So.
may I have Eloy Alvarez?
Good evening, council members. My name is Eloy Alvarez, Regional Director with SEIU 721. We come here as SEIU 721 members with a willingness to work together. We want to acknowledge the efforts of City Council that you've all made in years past to correct some of those compensation issues that historically existed, such as our members going approximately 13 years without a raise. We want to continue working together. We hope that you recognize the important services that our members provide, vital services to the Hemet community that they so much rely on. We ask that the city approach these negotiations in a just and fair manner. What we're seeking here is a fair outcome for both sides. We're here to ensure that the services that these ladies and gentlemen provide are preserved and that the community can move forward and rely on those services. These members come to the city knowing that they're not going to get rich. No public servant does. Nobody does. They take their jobs very seriously. They perform their jobs compassionately, and they understand that the Hemet public relies on them in order to make the city run efficiently. We ask that you take fundamental steps to keep these great employees so that these city services continue to run. And once again, we're here to work together. We want to see a positive outcome
to these negotiations, and whatever we can do to make that happen, we're here to work hand in hand. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to working with each and every one of you. Have a good night.
Next, may I have Philip Sinclair?
Members, my name is Philip Sinclair. I live at 1615 Indica Road here in Hemet. Just kind of wanted to bring to the attention of you guys regarding a neighbor nuisance that we are having in our community. This one, I've lived in Hemet since 2015. I work for Riverside County Environmental Health. My wife works for the Hemet Unified School District. Our 10-year-old daughter attends Harmony Elementary. Beginning in February 2022, we began receiving intimidating statements and gestures from a resident adjacent to us. Each interaction since that initial time frame has always involved some verbal threats of physical violence or other aggressive behaviors, such as rushing us as we're going to check our mail. One instance involved the neighbor attempting to jump over the wall between our houses while I was breaking down cardboard in my backyard, and again threatened physical violence of me to beat me up, and that I would gonna wish I never lived next to him. I have also had it to where reports have been made and the top panels from the garage door has been removed, almost like a military bunker, and looking out and screaming at the neighborhood. Police have been called multiple times, so there are plenty of records on there that they have been called and trying to address this. Neighbors have reported him watching our home from a chair in the front yard. Every time that we do have an interaction, there is always the threat of physical violence, to where this most recent one on April 6th involves me putting cans into the back of our car to take in for recycling. And I come back out and the neighbor was waiting for me right there and said, "Don't think that I forgot about that. You called the cops on me. You do it again, you and I will be scrapping in the street." A few days later, after that most recent interaction, some mysterious letters began to be strewn throughout our neighborhood, accusing my wife and I of physically abusing our daughter. We have now had CPS called on us. The school district is now involved. Police are involved. And these actions are escalating to where we're in daily fear of what's going to occur next. These actions have impacted each of us in our household, especially our daughter. She has constant nightmares, increased anxiety, and fears of even going outside. She has to wait until our garage is closed until she can even get out of the vehicle and come inside of her own home. We are afraid to go outside to take up the trash or check our mail. Although these actions have seemed to be more targeting us, it's not just us that they're infecting our entire neighborhood. Neighbors have expressed their fear to us about these abnormal behaviors. People that have lived there since 95 when the homes were built no longer go on their walk across the street. Some of our neighbors are fearful for their family and everything else, to where kids don't even go out front anymore. We would appreciate assistance in creating a safer neighborhood and environment for our children and families. We're scared and don't know what else to do. We fear that the physical violence could be possible given the escalation of the verbal and written abuse. Please help us with this matter. Thank you for your time and consideration.
We will, we will now move on to presentations for this evening. Our first proclamation will be for Asian American and Pacific Islander Month and will be presented by Council Member Lilienthal to Tu Yang.
Whereas the month of May was chosen as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese citizen to the United States, but also the anniversary of the May 10th, 1869 completion of the first transcontinental railroad, built with the back-breaking labor of nearly 20,000 Chinese immigrants. The Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders include devoted community members who serve as artists, business owners, educators, healthcare professionals, lawyers and judges, clergy members, first responders, and military personnel. And in May, we celebrate the achievements and contributions of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders that enrich our history, society, and culture. Asian American Pacific Islanders have distinguished themselves as leading researchers in science, medicine, and technology, innovative farmers and ranchers, distinguished lawyers, judges, government leaders in the arts, literature, and sports, war heroes who defended our country from fascism, and peacetime healthcare heroes. And today, more than 20 million Asian American Pacific Islanders live in the United States and through their actions make America a more vibrant, prosperous, and secure nation. Therefore, Joe Males, Mayor of the City of Hemet, along with the rest of us city council members, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Month. And in the City of Hemet, we encourage all citizens to learn more about Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, their heritages, and celebrate this month with cultural events and educational activities.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. I just want to take a few minutes to kind of introduce myself again. My name is Tu Yang. This is my wife, Lee, and I'm the pastor of the New Vine Alliance Church over here on 2010 West Menlo in Hemet here. And first of all, since May is Asian American Pacific Islanders Month, I would like to brief on the Hmong people. And California is a wonderful state that consists of diversity ethnic groups. And among them are the Asians of the Southeast Asia. But not to say that we are all of the same and speak the same languages. We are the Hmong people from the mountains of Laos. Many times I have been asked, are you Chinese? I said, no. Are you Japanese? No. Are you Vietnamese? No. What are you? I said, Hmong. Oh, Mongolia. I said, no. We are the Hmong people. We are the Hmong people from Laos in the 60s to very early 70s when a war broke out in Vietnam and the communist regime had made their ways into Laos. The US CIA came to Laos and asked our leaders to help to rescue their pilots that have been shot down and also to help them to find ways as well as to cut path to stop the communists from entering into Laos. For that, we were promised that if indeed the war doesn't end well, they will bring us or our people to the US. As a matter of fact, in about 1975 or so, the US has decided to pull out all their men and women out of Laos. We were left with very little or nothing. to fight against the communists. Many of our people were killed, or even, I would say, slaughtered. This was the beginning of the genocide of the Hmong people in Laos, even after this day. Many of our parents, grandparents, and children, including my wife and I, were among them, left our homes, families, and friends to find a better life in Thailand. And we fled on foot for days and nights in the jungle of Laos for weeks and months with just the clothes on our body and no food. We faced starvation, disease, and some of our people were being shot at. Many died, men, women, and children. Some made it to the Mekong River, but because we have no boat or rafters, many were drowned and never made it to Thailand. My father was among them. The rest of us made it to Thailand and were being kept as refugees in some of the worst refugee camps in Thailand for months. Eventually, many of us were being sponsored by churches here in the US. Our people, the Hmong people, started arriving in America in around 1976 or so and afterward. Today, there are about 300,000 Hmong people resides in the United States. The highest population may be in the Minnesota area, Oklahoma, California, North, South Carolina, Georgia area. Even more fortunate than that, we were given a new life, not only in America, when dreams have no limitations, but also a new life in Christ. Again, thank you, and may the Lord bless you all. Our next proclamation is for the Arias Troubadours. However, they are not here tonight because we are going to have a special presentation at the Ramona Bowl at the Ramona Play this Saturday. So I invite everybody to come up and see this wonderful group, and I just want to tell you a little bit about them. It'll be presented this Saturday, and they have been performing at the play for 100 years. Parts of their family have been there for 100 years at the Ramona Play, and it includes the orchestra, the singers, and the dancers. And they've performed for presidents, many celebrities, and at numerous events. And I'd just like to say, Arias Troubadours, we salute you. Thank you. And now I will present for Arbor Day. So I would like to have Dalita Jafar come up and part of the Women's Club. City of Hemet, California proclamation for Arbor Day. In 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-saving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife.
And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, Joe Males, Mayor of the City of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim the day of April 26, 2024 as Arbor Day. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day, support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Presented April 23rd, 2024, signed by Joe Males, Mayor, and the City Council. You? And one for you. And these ladies are both instrumental in planting trees in our community. And
I would just like invite everybody on Thursday to Mary Henley Park at 10 o'clock, where the Hemet Women's Club will be planting the tree. And we have enjoyed doing this for many, many years and hope to keep doing it.
Thank you so much. I want to thank our mayor and city council. And as Rotary Club, we are united with the city council in our commitment to serve this community and also our passion to protect the environment. Rotary Club is very honored to help the city every year and plant trees and do whatever we can to collaborate and make Hemet beautiful. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Uh-oh.
Can I have Brenda Scott come up?
This will be a proclamation for May is being Mental Health Month.
Okay. So, all right. Whereas mental illness affects individuals of all ages, I promise you I'm being serious. Backgrounds, employment statuses, education levels, and income levels is especially prevalent among youth and seniors. And Mental Health America established May as Mental Health Month in 1949 to raise awareness and understanding of mental health. Mental health challenges are among the most common health conditions in California, affecting 1 in 6 adults and significantly impacting both those experiencing these challenges and their loved ones. Many Californians with serious mental illness face significant difficulties in daily life, and if left untreated, have dramatically reduced life expectancies. Stigma surrounding mental health often isolates those facing challenges, causing them delay in seeking help. Recovery from mental illness is possible, and all Californians should know that support is available regardless of their circumstances. Fostering a community where everyone feels empowered to seek the support they need is essential in ending the stigma around mental health, and access to support and overcoming stigma are of vital importance. Therefore, Joe Males, Mayor of the City of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May. I know we're in April, and just like the last proclamation, we're doing this early because they need these, and our next city council meeting is after when they need it. So that's the reason why you keep hearing about May. But we do hereby proclaim this month of May as Mental Health Month, and we encourage all of the community members, all the community, to enhance public mental health awareness and reduce stigma surrounding mental health.
Oh, you're gonna try to. Okay. We'll get a picture. Okay. Hi, my name is Brenda Scott. I am Executive Director of NAMI, Mount San Jacinto. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I'm also with the Behavioral Health Commission with Riverside University Health System Behavioral Health. And I want you all to know about the Art of Wellness, which is a mental health awareness fair that is going to be May 9th at Valleywide in San Jacinto, and Valleywide is at 901 West Esplanade Avenue. And the event is from 11:30 to 4:30. So if anyone wants to have a table there, I left flyers outside and applications to have a table. You could just invite the public to come out. There'll be a lot of resources there for mental health services and recovery and substance use services. So I encourage you to come out. I myself am a family member who has relatives with a mental health condition, and NAMI has helped me by providing education and support for my family who lives with other relatives who have mental health conditions. And then, okay. Thank you. We got it. Thank you.
Thank you for this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, yeah. Thank you for this. Thank you.
Our final presentation this evening will be on the County of Riverside Traffic Relief Plan and will be presented by Deputy Executive Director Aaron Hake. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, honorable members of the City Council. My name is Aaron Hake. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Riverside County Transportation Commission. And it's an honor to be among you tonight and to have the opportunity to speak to the residents of Hemet about the pressing matters of transportation that we all face on a daily basis, as well as specifically the traffic relief plan, which is something the commission adopted earlier this month. But before I do that, I want to first acknowledge Commissioner, as I know her, Commissioner Krupa, who serves as your representative on the RCTC Commission. We also manage the RCA, the Western Riverside Regional Conservation Authority, and your appointee is Councilmember Kendrick. We appreciate her service. And Mayor Males also served for a time on the body. You're well represented, great advocates for the city of Hemet and this whole valley as we're considering regional transportation and conservation issues. I do have a presentation. I don't know if we could get that loaded.
IT's queuing that up now.
That's okay. As that's happening, I just want to sort of reintroduce who RCTC is and what we do and why we matter to transportation issues. RCTC is a regional transportation body. Every city in the county has a representative. Every city council appoints a board member. The entire board of supervisors is there. So this is a place where regional decisions can be made that affect transportation throughout the whole region. We are charged with administering state and federal funds for transportation that come to Riverside County, whether that's for public transportation, for local streets and roads, for highway projects. Our responsibility is to make sure that those dollars get out into the community. We're also responsible for administering Measure A, which is the voter-approved half-cent sales tax that was originally passed in 1988 and then reapproved in 2002. And those funds come back to our community. They stay in our community for transportation projects, again, ranging from roads to public transit and active transportation. We also administer or actually own and operate Metrolink stations and the Paris Valley line. We actually own the rail line that comes here through Hemet. That is a decision that was made many, many years ago by the commission to purchase that rail line for the future opportunities to provide rail service to this region. In the interim period, we have worked out a great arrangement with the city to use that trail for a community purpose until that rail line comes around. We could talk about when that might happen and how in the future, but we're glad to be a partner with the city in that. We do run Metrolink service to Paris right now, so you can get on at South Paris Station or in downtown Paris, closer to here, and take the train into Riverside and downtown Los Angeles. We're part of the Metrolink system. We also operate the 91 and 15 express lanes in the Corona, Norco, Eastvale area. So if any of you have a transponder and drive on those facilities, that's an RCTC function as well. Now, to get onto the traffic and transportation issue, this is probably not news to anybody who lives in this region, who travels in a car, but traffic is getting worse and it's projected to get worse. The Southern California Association of Governments forecasts that by 2050, Riverside County will add the equivalent of 2 more cities of Moreno Valley to its population. And whether we do anything to our infrastructure or not, that's the growth that's going to happen, and those people are going to need somewhere to go in addition to all of us who are already here. So we already have one of the worst commutes, longest commutes in the nation. We will be growing, and our commission has, taken bold action and said we need to do something to try to deal with this situation as proactively as we can, instead of just reacting all of the time. So that bold action is adopting the traffic relief plan. This is a plan that was first initiated back in around 2019, prior to the pandemic. We surveyed the entire county. We spoke to the communities and determined what the needs were. What are the projects, the improvements that need to take place? We renewed that effort this year anew. And actually, it was at the recommendation of Commissioner Krupa that we kind of resurrect this effort. You may remember that back in 2020, when we were first ready to adopt this plan, that traffic went away suddenly. People were not moving about. Everyone was staying home. Traffic was no longer the top of mind issue that it was at the time. But now that we're all back, what we're hearing from the public, what you're probably observing, is that congestion is as bad or worse than it was prior to the pandemic. So we've identified $30 billion worth of improvements throughout the county, all modes, all parts of the county, Blythe to Corona, Temecula to Banning to here. And we have done that in collaboration with your jurisdiction and others to identify what those priorities are. However, the projects in this plan are not funded. These are aspirations. These are things we would like to get done, but we've got to start somewhere. We need the blueprint, and that's what this is. So in this area in particular, we've identified several important projects. We've identified designing, acquiring the right-of-way, and constructing the State Route 79 realignment project, which is something we know that this valley has needed and wanted for decades. Extending rail service on that rail line I talked about a few minutes ago, all the way to its termination in San Jacinto. Improving Gilman Springs Road, adding additional safety improvements there. We know that there have been interim improvements that have been made. The county continues to work on what can be done to make that road safer. We know that a larger infrastructure project is needed to really protect people on that corridor and make it function better. So we've included that in the plan. Interchanges through the Beaumont and Banning Pass, along the 60, improvements on the 60, public transit improvements throughout the county. I'm just giving a high-level overview of projects that are in the plan. I will provide at the end of the presentation how to access the full thing. I also brought copies here for the public and for you to take home. The pie chart you see on the screen represents the relative level of investment that each mode of transportation is proposed to receive in the traffic relief plan. What we did is we took all the costs of all the projects throughout the western part of the county and categorized them by are they a highway? Are they a regional connector like the 79 that goes through multiple communities? Is it public transportation? Is it active transportation, which would be bicycle and pedestrian improvements? Is it something that provides safer streets and roads? Is it a grade separation? That would fall in that category. Is it a trail project or a sidewalk project? Is it environmental mitigation? Is it protecting us from climate change events? Is it doing something to enable one of those road construction projects to proceed? Because as we know, we have the need to mitigate impacts of projects for them to proceed. So these are the percentages of the investments within the plan. We just zoomed in on this area for this presentation, but if you look at the plan, you can see what's going on in other parts of the county as well. That's a narrative of what I just described, but I'll move on to talk about how would we get these projects done that we want to get done. So the commission is looking at the potential to put, actually the commission has directed staff now, I can say that, with its action of adopting the traffic relief plan, the commission has given direction to RCTC staff to develop an ordinance and an expenditure plan to propose for the November 2024 ballot for a 1% countywide sales tax measure, just like Measure A. So Measure A has been a success. It's allowed us to have local control of funding, allowed us to match state and federal funding and bring more of that here locally. And if we're to get these projects done, this is what we believe is the most feasible way to get those projects done. So the commission is considering placing a ballot measure on the November ballot countywide. We did an economic analysis of what that would mean. Over a 30-year horizon, a 1% sales tax would create approximately $25 billion of investment in the county, countywide, support approximately 168,000 jobs, an economic output of approximately $30.9 billion, and workforce income of approximately $10.9 billion countywide. And in the western part of the county, the revenue generated would be about $20 billion. In Coachella Valley, about $5 billion. And in the Palo Verde Valley, which is Blythe, about $100 million. I just want to put some scale here, some context for what those big numbers mean. We're talking about the State Route 79 project. That's anywhere from 1.6 to perhaps $2 billion, just that project alone. To extend rail service out here to Hemet and San Jacinto, it's several $100 million to do that. To extend rail service to the Coachella Valley, $1.5 to $2 billion. To extend, any sort of lanes on a major freeway, we are again talking hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, depending on which highway it is and what the terrain is there. An interchange on a major freeway today can be anywhere from 50 to 60 to 80 to $100 million. A grade separation around the same thing. There's a grade separation going in the county right now that well exceeds $100 million. We actually have a few of those. So those are big numbers, but when you look at what something like this could generate, it is significant. We could get a lot done. And in the absence of a measure like this, the plan simply is a wish list. So if this measure were to go forward and if the voters were to approve it, there are some legal parameters to it. And this is different than a measure that a city or a county might put on the ballot. RCTC has special statutes. No more than 1% of our revenue is allowed to go to administrative salaries and benefits. The rest has to go into projects and programs for transportation. The funds can't be diverted to Washington or Sacramento, just like any other local sales tax measure. We're subject to the same, sort of Brown Act requirements, audit requirements that a local government entity is as well. There are a few other statutory requirements we have to meet in any expenditure plan and ordinance, and that's what we're going through right now that the commission has given us this direction. You may be wondering, what does the public think of such a concept? So we did a public opinion poll last year to see what the voters think. We asked, do you even see a need for funding for transportation in this county? And when we polled voters, 82% of voters in the county said, yes, they see a need for more funding. That's not asking, is there traffic? We can all kind of stipulate to that. But do you see a need for more funding? 82% of voters said yes. As we've polled this question over the last 10 years, that number has steadily grown. Then we asked them the tougher question of, would you vote for a 1% sales tax after we kind of describe what it would do? That answer countywide is 67% told us yes. And we, for the purpose of this meeting and this presentation, we pulled out the voters who responded from Hemet, San Jacinto, and the surrounding communities. And the number actually was reflective of the countywide vote. We had a 67% yes vote in that survey from the residents in this area. So with that information, the commission directed us to do the public outreach, talk to you, talk to our neighbors, talk to our stakeholders, develop this plan. They've adopted it. And so we're moving forward, and it was important for us to be able to present it to you here in this forum in a public setting, give you the opportunity to ask questions or provide us comments, and just let the public know. So there's a couple ways citizens can get more information about this. Trafficreliefplan.org. There's the QR code on the screen if anyone wants to scan the QR code. There's ways to get a hold of us. I'm here tonight. Your elected representatives know how to get a hold of us and provide feedback, which they've been doing great at letting us know what the vibe of the community is. With that, I'll conclude. Thank you for being generous with your time and inviting me here tonight to share this information. Happy to take any questions. They don't have to be easy. They can be tough, and it's my job. So thank you. Okay. And I do want to acknowledge, do we want to acknowledge Ann? Do we want to acknowledge Ann? Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. We will now recess to the special meeting. I call the City Council special meeting to order. City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let the record reflect all members are present.
We will now move on to public comment. City Clerk, are there any public comments?
Mayor, there are no registered speakers.
We will now move to our presentation item. Councilmember Krupa has a proclamation that we were going to present personally to Miss Ann Meyer. However, she could not make it this evening. She is the outgoing Executive Director of RCTC, and Councilmember Krupa has worked with her for many years, and I hear that Ann is listening. So Linda, would you like to read the proclamation?
I will, and since this thing is heavy, if you don't mind, I'm just going to sit here and balance it instead of trying to hold a microphone and doing it at the same time. Plus, this print is extremely small. JP, you need to get a bigger print. So anyway, this is City of Hemet, California proclamation honoring Ann Meyer. Whereas Ann Meyer began her career as a professional engineer after she graduated with a civil engineering degree from Michigan State University. In May 2005, Ann joined the Riverside County Transportation Commission as Deputy Executive Director and was appointed Executive Director in 2007. Prior to joining RCTC, Ann served with the California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, including 3 years as District 8 Deputy Director for Design and 4 years as District 8 Director, where she was responsible for management of the state highway system in San Bernardino and Riverside counties. Under Ann's leadership, RCTC has continuously delivered on promises made to Riverside County residents through the Measure A half-cent sales tax to fund regional and local transportation improvements and habitat conservation approved by Riverside County voters. First in 1988 and again in 2002. Throughout her time serving at RCTC, Ann has ensured that transportation projects and programs safely connect Riverside County's diverse communities while preserving the region's natural landscape. With over 27 years of experience in the public works field, Ann has successfully led RCTC and all 81 members of her team to oversee the completion of billions of dollars in transportation improvements to benefit the residents of Riverside County and the region's economy. These projects include the completion of the Paris Valley Line as the first expansion of Metrolink service since 1994, the I-215 Bi-County Gap Closure Project, the I-15 Express Lanes Project, and the State Route 91 Corridor Improvement Project. In 2022, Ann spearheaded the completion of 5 major projects, including the 91 Corridor Operations Project, the I-15 Railroad Canyon Road Interchange Project, the I-15 Interim Corridor Operations Project, the State Route 60 Truck Lanes Project, and the I-215 Placentia Avenue Interchange. Anne has been a leading voice for transportation infrastructure improvements across inland Southern California for 40 years. Her dedicated work has earned her recognition, including the California Transportation Foundation's Person of the Year Award, the Orange County chapter of Women's Transportation Seminar Woman of the Year Award, and the Inland Empire Woman of the Year Award. Additionally, the Greater Riverside Chambers of Commerce presented Anne with the Athena Award for demonstrated professional achievements in community service and mentorship. Now, therefore, Joe Males, Mayor of the City of Hemet, along with the entire Hemet City Council, hereby proclaim the day of April 23rd, 2024 as the day honoring Anne Mayer. And we encourage all of our residents to congratulate Anne on her positive impact she has had during her career, and we also wish her well in her retirement, but we are going to miss her dreadfully. So, Aaron, I will give this to you. You can talk to Anne.
Sure. So, Anne, I know you're watching. I know she's probably on the YouTube. If you're on the Zoom, I think they'd like to hear from you. But I just want to say that RCTC, this whole county has been incredibly blessed. There's not a road that you all drive on that hasn't been impacted by Anne's service and her commitment to just getting things done. That's always been her charge to staff: just get it done, figure it out. And we have, and she's shown us how. She has always spoken highly of this community, and particularly in the need for investments here and to make sure that things get done. That I know she is a champion for that 79 project, and over the years has just pushed and pushed and pushed to get that environmental document done. And anytime that this community is called, I know she has picked up the phone. She's been a great mentor to me personally, and to many others. So we will all keep working and just get it done, as Anne would want us to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Aaron. And I just want to say Anne's last day with RCTC will be May 1st. And this gentleman, Aaron Hake, will take over on May 2nd. So congratulations. And I just want to add one more thing. We have another connection to Anne, because Robin Lowe, prior council member sitting in the audience, was actually you were the chair of RCTC when she was hired. So thank you, Robin, for hiring Anne. Appreciate that. There you go. And Anne, we appreciate you much. We will miss you. And some of us are taking bets on how long it is before you actually come back and work for us for doing something else. So that's it. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
I adjourn this meeting, and we will now return to regular session. We will now move into the public hearing item. The City Council's procedures for public hearing will be as follows. Staff will provide a report and clarification of items presented. The public hearing will be opened for comments for those in favor or in opposition to the item, followed by rebuttal to any comments made. The public hearing will be closed, and the city manager may respond to any questions raised by the public. The public will not have an opportunity to respond. Discussion will be brought back to the City Council for direction or action. Can we get a report from staff on this item?
I'll provide a little stall, but this is an annual report. The police chief is en route, but the report is an annual report on military equipment use. So what we do annually is we review the program and the policy, And we also provide an update in accordance with the rules and responsibilities associated with the use of this equipment. So we have a PowerPoint presentation that the police chief is scheduled to deliver shortly.
To add additional context, just for filler, there was a public meeting held to invite public participation that was noticed in the press enterprise some time ago prior to this meeting. Right on time.
Good evening. I think I missed the first part. Am I going to go over this whole presentation or do I have specific questions? Okay. All right. So in January of 2022, Assembly Bill 481 was passed. It took effect on January 1st of that year. Essentially, a lot of the equipment that the police department uses today, a lot of it that you would not guess was deemed militarized equipment. And so there were some procedures put in place. Am I using this? There we go. There were some procedures put in place and steps we have to take on an annual basis since January 1st, 2022. We had to list every piece of equipment that we use that is considered under that militarized equipment list. That is, you can find that on our webpage in our policy. We list that. It's for public viewing. With that, every year we have to have a public meeting as well. And we put that out in the press enterprise this year. We got zero, anybody from the public, 0 persons showing up for this public meeting. We will probably do our social media next year. Maybe we'll get a little more interaction. But I can tell you a sister city of ours covered all their social media pages, put it in the local press enterprise and whatnot, and they had 3 people show up. So there's really no interest in it so far. We'll see. But that being said, you can find the entire list of what's considered militarized equipment. I think here in the city, when this took effect, we labeled it as specialized equipment. I think that was Carly Myers' push on that. So you'll find it as labeled as militarized equipment. Are there any specific questions exactly regarding this specialized equipment? So that's it. And just if you want to see the list of militarized equipment, it's on there on the for public viewing on our webpage. And we have actually posted the entire policy for this, so people can read it.
Council, I just wanted to note that as part of that ordinance, you would also authorize these to be brought forward as receiving files. So if that's something the council would like to do instead of a public hearing, we put it as a public hearing because it's the first time the chief's doing it. But if that's also something you'd like, we can make that note for next year.
Yeah, if there's any questions at all, I'm happy to answer those. Okay, thank you so much.
I will now open the public hearing. After the public hearing is closed, we will bring back the item to council for discussion. City Clerk, do we have any registered comments or speakers?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to call out on the Zoom call if there's any public comment for this public hearing item. Now is the time to raise your hand, and we'll give you just a few moments. And Mayor Pro Tem, otherwise there are no other registered speakers, so just a few moments, please. Seeing none, Mayor Pro Tem, there are no public comments.
I will now close the public hearing and bring back the discussion to the council. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the annual report for the Hemet Police Department Specialized Equipment Policy per Ordinance 1998, Section 38-3, and recommend that the item comes as receive and file in the following year.
And a second?
Second.
City Clerk, may we have roll call?
Councilmember Kendrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Mills.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
We will move on to the receive and file reports. and we will receive and file the reports individually because staff has presentations for items 15B and 15C. Council, do you have any comments on 15A for the budget adjustments?
Mayor Pro Tem, I do have a couple questions. I know they were clarified by the city manager during my meeting, but I'd like the clarification for the public's edification. So my first question was on page 3 of the staff report. Actually, there's 3 questions on that page. I was just looking for an explanation for the $15,500 for code overtime, $30,000 of fire department overtime and weed abatement, and just I still have concerns with 661,600 for Wildan, and hoping that we can get staff on board to reduce our use and reliance on contractors.
Good evening, council. There is one kind of error on that overtime for it says weed abatement. It does have an overtime account code there, but it's actually professional services, and we are going to make that correction in March to move it from overtime to professional services, and that's for ACE weed abatement contract. Regarding the use of the overtime, I think that's more, I guess, a department question for the department heads. All this was from the mid-year report that was brought to council back in February. So in terms of the Wildan, I think that would be better question maybe for the
Yeah,
building
it's not a
department.
question, it's a statement.
Yeah.
It's something. I just, so are we seeing increases in overtime for code, or like I said, I think you provided me an explanation, but again, I'd like to.
Right. Occasionally there are times where we want to either enhance enforcement given feedback that we're receiving. Sometimes we have had some issues with vendors, often in the evening. And then also we authorized some overtime this past weekend to keep an eye on code enforcement issues at non-standard hours. So we do want to deploy some code enforcement activities periodically at adjusted hours. And sometimes that's through enhancement rather than adjusting schedules.
Thank you. I have no further comments. So I'll make a motion to approve item 15A.
I'll second that.
It's just a receive and
It's a
file.
receive
So
and file,
as long as
yeah.
we say
Yeah.
all aye, we'll do by consensus.
Okay, moving on, can we have a staff presentation on item 15B?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. My name is Brett Van Lant, partner with Van Lant Fankenel. I have a short presentation going over the audit process and the reports that were issued as part of the audit. I guess I have control of the slide here. So the audit, the presentation is going to go over the audit process, the reports that were issued, some financial statement highlights, questions, and things like that. So moving on to the audit process. The audit process is kind of a two-part process. We start with what we call the planning or risk assessment process. We also do third-party confirmations of various account balances, payments made to the city, things like that. We do also substantive testing of the account balances in the ACFR, and we also do a final ACFR review and comparison. So that planning risk assessment, that's where we're assessing the risk that the financial statements could contain material misstatement, whether that be due to errors or fraud. The procedures involve our judgment based off of our understanding of the various transactions of the city, and also the various controls that the city has in place over those transactions.
We do a thorough review of all the various types of transactions that the city has, cash disbursements, cash receipts, payroll, utility billing, things like that. Really, we're just evaluating any risks in those types of transactions that could potentially result in a material misstatement. So third-party confirmations, I mentioned that. We are confirming bank balances with the actual banking institutions. We confirm payments that the city receives from the state, which includes sales tax, gas tax. We confirm payments received from the county for property taxes, just to further provide evidence of the amounts that ultimately are reported in the financial statements. So just a quick list of some of the significant audit areas that we do testing that ultimately reflect the balances in your financial statements. These are generally the larger balances, and we do separate types of procedures for each of these. We also do a final prior year comparison, comparing the account balances in the financial statements from one year to the next, really trying to evaluate our understanding to make sure that we feel comfortable with any fluctuations, any changes that we either expected or didn't expect, to make sure that we have a thorough understanding of those changes so that we can account for that evidence in our audit work papers. So just kind of going to go over the reports that were issued as part of our audits. There's the audit report, that's the opinion on the financial statements. There's an internal control report that's required by government auditing standards. There's a required communication with the city council. There's also an appropriations AUP report on the calculation of the city's appropriations limit, and then also a single audit report on testing of federal grants. So the audit report, this is where we're stating an opinion on the financial statements. There's various sections of our audit report describing management's responsibility of the financial statements, and then our responsibility to conduct the audit of the financial statements. We are providing reasonable assurance that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The city's financial statements received an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, meaning we did not identify any departures from GAAP. I mentioned the internal control report. This is required by government auditing standards. As part of our audit, we're required to evaluate internal controls, and if we identify any what we consider material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, material noncompliance, we're required to report it in this report. We did have one finding, which was regarding audit adjustments. We're, as auditors, external auditors, we are not allowed to be part of the city's internal controls. So if we identify a material misstatement, we have to report it as a material weakness, depending on the level of that misstatement. These are corrected as by management as part of the audit. There's also the required communication with city council. This is just basically describing different note disclosures in the financial statements. This is required by our audit standards to point out significant estimates or sensitive disclosures. If we had any difficulties or disagreements, it would be included in that report. Mainly the types of disclosures this is referring to are capital assets, because of the estimate of useful lives for those capital assets and how they're depreciated. Also, pension liabilities, OPEB liabilities, mainly because they're based off of significant estimates and assumptions for future actuarial calculations. The AUP report, this is agreed upon procedures. It's required by the California Constitution. It's basically an exceptions only type report. So if we have any exceptions to the calculation or the way that it was done, we would be required to report it, but we had no exceptions. So that's just standard report. There's also the single audit report. This is required if your federal expenditures exceed $750,000 in a fiscal year. We are required to test major programs for grant compliance. I believe there was one major program, and there's no findings to report. So I kind of just have some highlights of the financial statements. General fund balance increased about $9.5 million compared to the prior year. The unassigned fund balance in the general fund is approximately 50% of your expenditures in fiscal year 23. GFOA, which is Government Finance Officers Association, they recommend a minimum of 2 months. So you guys are about approximately 6 months of reserves in your unassigned fund balance. Your net pension liability did increase about just under 47 million compared to the prior year, and I'll go into that a little bit. Just kind of a shot in time of your fund balance in the general fund and the different categories in which your fund balance is reported. Non-spendable fund balance is mainly, it's not spendable because it's already been spent, it's prepaid. It'll be recognized when you receive those items or recognize the service for those items. Restricted funds, and obviously your committed fund balance based off of the ordinances and resolutions that the council has adopted over the years. The assignments for capital projects, and then there's your unassigned fund balance. So you can see the increase in just your unassigned fund balance from one year to the next. So I did mention the increase in your net pension liability. One of the reasons that this liability increased from 2022 fiscal year to 2023 fiscal year has to do with the discount rate. Also, the discount rate went down, which increases your liability. And also you're seeing the losses that CalPERS had in 2022 being reflected in 2023. The losses that CalPERS had were pretty significant compared to what their goals are of roughly 6 or 7%. They had about a 14% loss. Not all of that loss was realized. There was significant losses in investment rate of returns, mainly because of the higher interest rates. So those old investments that people had, they lost a lot of value because the 2-3% bonds that they had invested in, now you could get 6 to 7% on some of those. So the value of your bonds decreased. So you have what's called an unrealized loss. And that's all being reflected along with the reduction in the CalPERS discount rate. And it's hitting in 2023. But if you go back to 2022, your actual liability went down significantly. So it's kind of broke even over the course of a 3-year period. I do also like to point this out because, the actuaries are using a discount rate of 6.9%. If they're wrong by 1%, either higher or lower, you can kind of see how that affects your pension liability. A 1% decrease in your discount rate significantly increases your pension liability, and a 1% increase in the discount rate significantly reduces it. So these are sensitive disclosures because they are estimates based off of future activity. The city did implement, it's called GASB 96. This is regarding subscription-based tech information systems. So didn't have a really significant impact, but I did want to just point it out. GASB is requiring new standards to be implemented almost every year, it seems like. In the last, I would say 12 years, they put out about 50 to 60 GASB statements. And to give perspective, in 2000, we were at GASB, 2011, we were at GASB 45. And in 2024, we are already at GASB 103, I believe. So over 60 GASB statements in just the span of about 12 years, which is it's a lot for auditors, it's a lot for finance staff to keep up with these significant statements. So with that, I'll just open it up to questions. If you have any questions about the audit or the financial statements, I'd be happy to go over those now.
I just had a couple of questions, and I know that it's kind of how the accounts work, where it's community development, but it includes some departments that are under different organizations. So community development. So one of the questions was, does that include building and safety and code enforcement? And so my understanding is it does. So, and those departments are kind of separate, and two are under a public safety organization, even though they're not public safety. And then also on page 29 of the staff report, it says community development refers to building and safety and engineering. So that I'm kind of confused by all of that. So maybe if I can get some clarification.
Sure. Code enforcement, building and engineering are all in the city's financials under the Community Development Fund 120. And so that is why when you're looking at financials, when you have the Community Development Fund and the Community Development Function, that includes those programs, planning, building, code enforcement, engineering.
So on page 28, it says, I'm sorry, on page 29, it just says it's building and safety and engineering. So we're missing a couple departments there, like planning and code enforcement. Well, it was 129. The agenda got changed. So.
Sorry, do you have the page number of the ACFR page number rather than the PDF?
9. But the 29 is a chart that says, okay, community development 7.9%. And then
the pie chart, this
yeah, it was a pie chart, and on the next page it talks about community development, but it only mentions building and engineering.
I think that's because it's the highlights on the next page. Okay, I see the bullet point you're talking about. Community development expenditures were approximately 979,000 less. Is that the bullet point you're looking at?
Okay, so that says planning, building, and engineering, but it should be code as well. And
yeah, the reason code wasn't listed on there is because it's just referencing the salary savings, and we were fully staffed in code.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I saw that there was one significant finding. So what are we doing to address that?
Yes, the finding was because we had some adjustments after the audit period. We've had some issues with staffing and having a director, and so hopefully when we have the director position was just recruited for, they'll be holding interviews and we will hopefully be fully staffed to be able to keep more on top of that. In addition, I mean, we've had some stuff out for various reasons, like myself for maternity leave, and so we've just had some time constraints to try to catch all the things. Some of the findings, what happened is that there were like checks received in July and August that weren't accrued back right away. And so it wasn't that we weren't recognizing the revenue, it was just in the wrong year. And so it was that kind of adjustment that we will be more on top of this year.
That makes total sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? With that, I guess we will receive and file the report. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, can we have a presentation on item 15C?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and our Deputy City Clerk, Elodie Klug, is making her way to the podium.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. I'm Elodie Klug, Deputy City Clerk, and we have a special presentation from tonight from the Riverside County Civil Grand Jury for a recruitment opportunity. The following video presentation will provide information on qualifications and how to apply and participate in the Riverside County Grand Jury. Duties of the grand jury include responding to citizen complaints, investigating, learning, and reporting on county and local governments, ensuring tax dollars are spent wisely. The application deadline has been extended to April 30th, 2024. And for more information, please see the flyer in the staff report or contact 951-777-3633. That's my short presentation. And with that, IT, can you please cue the video?
Back to the Riverside County is a wonderful place to live and call home. And here's your chance to give back to the community. The County of Riverside Civil Grand Jury is actively recruiting new members. So what does the Civil Grand Jury actually do? It acts as the public's watchdog to improve local government and to respond to citizens' complaints and make sure our tax dollars are being spent wisely. If you've lived in Riverside County for at least 1 year, you're a U.S. citizen 18 years or older, knowledge of English, with sound judgment and character, then we're looking for you. A daily stipend plus mileage and parking is included with this position. For more information, visit riverside.courts.ca.gov or you can call 951-777-3633.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you, Elodie, for your presentation. Any comments from the council? With that, we will receive and file. Thank you. We will move on to the consent calendar. All consent calendar items will be acted upon simultaneously unless requested by an individual council member for separate consideration. Are there any members of the council that would like to pull any consent items for separate consideration?
Mayor, before the council votes on the consent calendar, there's a request from the city attorney's office to add 2 items to closed session at the end of the city council meeting. These are code enforcement items that have come to the attention of the city after the posting of the agenda, and we need urgent direction from the city council. So it'd be 2 items under initiation of litigation, conference with legal counsel. We do that at the end of the meeting, and we hope to keep the conversation relatively brief. But we would need a vote from the city council to add those 2 items to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to add it to the end of the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Kendrick. Do a roll call. Councilmember Kendrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to add those closed session items to the end of the agenda, the two.
Okay, going back to the consent calendar, any items you would like to pull? Can I have a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kendrick, second by Councilmember Krupa. Do a roll call. Councilmember Kendrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to approve the consent calendar.
Right. Our next two discussion items, 17A and 17B, will be presented by Fire Chief Eddie Sell and Battalion Chief Greg Lloyd. These items are co-related and therefore staff recommends a joint overview. Can we have the staff presentations, please?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Mayor at home and City Council. Eddie Sullivan, I'm honored to be here tonight and talk about our weed abatement program in particular. And again, this is because of your leadership and guidance to make sure that we continue to have a robust fire prevention program in the city that includes community risk reduction and being proactive. So I'm proud to report we're going to give a little bit of feedback. Chief Lloyd has a brief presentation. Thank you.
I believe there should be a presentation on that coming up. They were great. Perfect. All right. So just to give you a little bit of background on our weed abatement program, it was really reestablished in 2019. And the reason and purpose for that was to reduce rubbish fires and grass fires that happen within vacant properties. And it's really important to help clarify that within the weed abatement program that is designed for vacant properties, vacant lots, and all of those areas that are within the city. Our code enforcement program handles a lot of overgrown vegetation on private property with a residence, and it handles through the regular code enforcement process. This one is primarily focused on vacant parcels and private properties within the city limits. We've done this for a while, and our big really mantra or motto with this is that consistency builds trust. We do this every year around this time. It starts with letters, it goes to a public hearing, and then gives the opportunity for the abatement to be taken care of by the property owner. It's always encouraged for them to take care of the abatement themselves. We give them up to 60 days to do that. And then we go out and inspect the properties. And if the properties have not been abated, then as a matter of public safety, we go ahead and abate them through our contractor. It's typically conducted once a year, finished by July 31st. We have, because of the amount of rainfall that we've received and the amount of growth in the weeds and vegetation that we've been monitoring, we've pushed it up 30 days. So that's why we're coming to you in April for a public hearing in May, with everything to be done by the end of June versus the end of July. So that was a proactive measure that we took. The other reason that we did that too was for the possibility of doing a second one. We've actually had years in the past with the inordinate rainfall to actually do a second abatement. And if that was necessary, then we would come back to council in August to then start the process through with a September, October, and then a November abatement. So those are the things that we want to watch. One of the things that happens typically within Southern California with these rainfalls is it ends up extending our fire season. So the fuels dry out, they take longer to dry out. So our fire season doesn't necessarily happen as early, although you could say that our fire season is pretty much year round here in Southern California. But what we see when we call a fire season, what we're talking about is critical fuel moistures. So there's a point where live fuels will burn like they're dead when they reach a critical fuel moisture. And those are the things that we want to look at and that we want to address is before those fires get out of hand where they can start to affect homes and property and people's lives, that we want to address those. So here is a picture about the drought monitor, and you can see that just between yesterday or last year and this year, we've seen improvements on that. We've seen improvements in the rainfall and in the drought. However, what does that translate to? It translates to increased vegetation growth and then that later than normal fire season. So I can tell you that in my 27 years of being in here, I've seen fires happen during Christmas. You remember in 2017, the Thomas fire that took place. We were still fighting the fires in Santa Barbara during the Thanksgiving season. So things turn out to be looking to be more of a later fire season or a more extreme fire season towards the end of the year. And that all depends on where the current weather moves for. For this year's weed abatement, you'll see that weed abatement letters have been sent to property owners this month. And then we have, in part of the discussion item, and we're asking you to take action on, not auction, is for to set a date for a public hearing in May. And then June 1st will be the deadline for property owners, at which time, in combination with our fire prevention officers and our engine companies, there will be inspections for those properties, and those that have not been abated will be forwarded to our contractor. And then they will start, then everything will be done by July 1. So when we hit that July 4th weekend, which we tend to see a lot of fireworks, then our goal is that those fuels are not there and present to continue a large fire within the city limits. And so as it says in here that we could have the potential for doing a second one here in the fall. The reason for that, as you'll know, and I've had some discussions with our contractors that we work with, and I can tell you that those contractors are already working. For those people that have vacant properties and vacant lots, they know this happens every year. This is something that we do every year, and they're out there and they're moving and they're taking steps to abate. They don't even wait for the letter. A lot of the larger commercial properties are out there working with local companies to go ahead and start the abatement process. The problem with it is that we've had some late rainfalls. Trucks get stuck, tractors get stuck, and they can't execute the weed abatement. The other thing that takes place is that we want to hit the weeds and cut them once their growth is done. Otherwise, we're just farming weeds. Just like your grass grows and then it comes back. We want to hopefully do that. Unfortunately, we're not going to wait beyond what's necessary, and we're going to do the abatement, and we may have to execute a second abatement in order to make sure that that those properties don't become a hazard later on. What I can tell you specifically with our results to past efforts, in 2018, we had 86 vegetation fires within the city. In 2019, it dropped to 70. 2020, 88, 2021, 71, 2022, 50, 2023, 84, and 2024, we've only had 4 so far this year. So with the exception of some anomalies, I think with some unseasonal rainfall, we're seeing an impact and an improvement, a decline in the amount of vegetation fires that we see within the city limits. The property owners, I could get you some solid data, but we have some pretty good compliance within our property owners. Our goal is to have them, our goal is always with any abatement, whether it be weed abatement and prevention or abatement within code, is to have the property owner take care of it themselves. It's the most efficient way to do it. They are in control of it. It's their property. They can go through that process, and then it's better for the city as well. Assessments as far as ecological impacts on that. We have weed abatement specifications. They're listed on our website. There are 2 main weed abatement methods that are utilized, and that's either mowing or disking. If they're disking, they have to follow AQMD requirements as far as dust abatement, as far as watering the areas and making sure that they're in compliance with AQMD. If they're mowing, they have to mow it to They have to set their mowers to 3 inches. If they're using any machinery, the machinery has to have spark arresters on it so that they're not causing a fire when they're in the middle of cutting. Unfortunately, we have had that at a couple of times. When they're too large to such a large property and we're not going to abate the entire property, we'll create 100-foot fire breaks around all of the edges. And so that fire might burn, but it's not going to propagate and cast embers onto adjacent properties in looking at that. In addition to all of that, that we provide a list of weed abatement contractors. We get a list of a whole bunch. So if anybody is looking for that, then they can go ahead and address those contractors. They're listed on the website. A number of local companies that although we don't recommend, we just say that this list is available for your convenience only. The financial impact of the abatement program, our goal is that whenever we do an abatement, we do seek cost recovery for that abatement. We do send a bill with an additional administrative fee, as well as the cost of the abatement and the inspection for the abatement. That is, once again, another encouragement for them to take care of it themselves. And that some issues related to the weed abatement and some of the vacant lots, homelessness, and some illegal dumping. I can tell you from my experience, not only on the fire suppression side, but as a fire investigator, we do run a number of fires related to homelessness, whether it's warming fires or something more nefarious. Fire seems to be their number one tactic or weapon to use against one another or against a property that kicks them off. And so we deal with a number of that. We're working in conjunction with code enforcement and police to address those issues on that as well. But it is part of that aspect, and we do work with the property owners to address the homelessness and the dumping. The largest amount for public awareness that we do, in addition to listing those specifications on the website, have to do with consistency. It's just beyond any advertising. It happens every year about this time, and everybody knows. And so that consistency not only builds trust with the community, but it also builds a rhythm that we do within the city as well. We're always open to any future strategies for prevention of this. Unfortunately, I think if anybody that has a home and has a garden, you have weeds. The bigger the property, the bigger the weeds. If there were things that we could do to prevent the weeds, those would be great. I think, though, environmentally, we look at a lot of natural grasses and a lot of things that are just indigenous to our locale. And it's something that we just want to address. And it's really more of a tension that we need to manage within the department, within the prevention division as prevention bureau, as versus a problem to solve. And then legal implications for property owners. We do go back and we do seek cost recovery from them as well. I can tell you that there have been times where we've been more aggressive with it as far as possibly putting liens on properties. And that's something that if council is interested in doing, then that's something that we can certainly pursue as well to make that a little more, put some more teeth into it as well. So shifting a little bit on that was really more of 17B in the request. 17A, Ace Weed Abatement is our weed abatement contractor. They've been with us for a number of years, and we've had great success with them. They're very responsive to us. And to give some specifics to that, last year we had a kind of an impromptu weed abatement that we needed to do within city property on the Four Seasons development, but within a very high fire hazard severity zone. And they were able to actually jump on it and get it taken care of in a short period of time. And that was beyond the scope of what they were normally contracted to do within that. Still fell within our greater scope of the contract language. But that being said, it was just a demonstration of their willingness to partner with the city and willingness to be a good contractor and a good business partner with us. And so they were able to take care of that. The increase in the contract amount specifically basically dates in the fact that if we're going to do 2 contracts and we move it up, we're bridging 2 fiscal years. And so we're doing 2 in this fiscal year. And that was something that we weren't anticipated to. So that's why we have the $25,000 increase for that weed abatement contract. So be able to cover this earlier abatement that obviously is going to execute before the end of the fiscal year. I know I said a lot, I'm sure, but if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. But when I did say, I'm sorry, to interrupt, just specifically to homeless, I was able to run some quick data, 2021, in our data. I don't have earlier than 2021. In 2021, we instituted a new technology and software called Image Trends that does a better job of tracking our fires and causes in that. So I have data from 2021 on. 40 fires started by transients in 2021, 42 in 2022, 40 in 2023, and 10 so far this year.
Thank you for the presentations. Are there any comments from council on these two items?
Actually, I think starting early is a great idea. I know that in previous jurisdictions, they usually look at the aerials and you have the X in the field so you can tell that it's been abated. Do you have data on that? So
We've worked with our GIS department, and having a new GIS person in there, we've been able to provide more recent and accurate maps. But what we'll end up doing is going out and doing inspections. We'll give each fire station a map, and all they do is literally is a quick drive-by. They don't even need to stop, and it's just they mark it whether it's abated or whether it's not abated.
but if they were looking on like Google Earth and it's an updated photo, so when it's got an X through it, it's been abated.
Oh, so as you're saying, just looking online in that.
Yeah, so I
So-
mean, sometimes when I'm, at work and I'm looking at properties, I can tell they're abated because of the X. So I didn't know that before, but I just didn't know if you had aerial data for Hemet that kind of indicated who's abating when or what.
Not at this time, although it's and whether how recent it is would be a good question
Yeah.
to know. And I know you can check that somewhat on the data, the map.
Like maybe like do it, soon and then after July 1 and, it's just interesting to me, but I don't want to make more work. So but the X's, I didn't know about it till a couple years ago. So I just thought it's an interesting fact.
Right.
Thank you for answering. You got all of them.
I try.
I didn't even get to ask anything. I did have a thought though. So have you guys ever thought about for like our the areas that are like far out? So I'm not talking about areas that are near like I'm thinking Florida and Palm. Their weeds are that area right there, the weeds are really tall across the street from Starbucks.
Mhm.
Have we ever thought about using like somebody's goats or the sheeps you put out there to eat the
So,
vegetation?
Yeah, that's a great point, and it seems to be something that came up. It came up with the Four Seasons one, and you would think that based on a lot of the media coverage that you literally could walk down the road and grab a goat herd. They're not as prevalent as you would think. I think the one when we did our research, because we were looking at Four Seasons for next year, would have to come out of Central California. They are also talking about the personnel. They have to have a place to stay, and there's a lot to it. It's certainly something that would provide a very ecologically friendly aspect. But what I can tell you is that there's actually something very amazing that's coming up in short order. And I don't know if Chief, you want to talk about it or if you want me to talk about it. Not quite yet. But that we have but the potential is that we would have a workforce able to be able to handle that, because and I know what you're saying, and I can picture the exact lot in my mind, and that what you end up having is about 4 feet of weeds that's about a foot back from the edge of the sidewalk, and then you go beyond that and there's nothing, and it's almost, I look at it from my perspective going, I could call a contractor out to abate it or do something like that, but that's a lot for, not a lot of weeds. And so our goal is to eventually have a program in place that can not only take care of things that are unsightly, and definitely provide an eyesore to that Florida corridor, but that we are able to address almost in a response type of fashion, where that call comes in and we make one phone call and there's somebody out there to take care of it right there. We're not going to go through the process. We're not going to go through those things. We're just going to, because it's an eyesore, because it's a hazard, or because it's something that really detracts from the city, we're going to be able to address it in short order. I didn't get too much.
Does that abatement process also include sidewalks
Yes.
that are in front of the property? So the
Yes.
abatement crews will also hit the sidewalks as well.
Yes. Right. And there is right of ways, and those are part of what we do when we go through the abatement process with any abatement, even in code, is we need to figure out who owns that piece of dirt or that piece of concrete or that piece of property, because that's ultimately who is the person that we want to focus our abatement or our letters to encourage them to abate it on their own. You're welcome.
Just had one more question, because you mentioned we could go liens, or that could be an option, but how do we address when the invoices aren't paid? I mean, I think that, I mean, liens are the only way. Otherwise, it's kind of a gift of public funds in my mind.
Absolutely. And that's something that we can certainly do. I know we've had some discussions with the city attorney, and because that we can pursue those things, and I don't want to step over you as far as
It's, actually doing it earlier, it's also good, because although we refer to it as liens, what we're actually talking about are special assessments. Those have to be submitted to the county tax collector by the beginning of August. And it also has to have a public hearing where the city council approves it. So by moving this all forward 1 month, what it means is that if it's the direction of the council that any amounts that are unpaid be brought forward and to levy special property tax assessments on those properties, that's something that we can absolutely do. It's relatively cost effective and efficient. And you end up getting paid back. I mean, assuming that property taxes get paid, of course, you end up getting paid back by the beginning of next year. So early 2025. It's one of our most effective ways of recouping the costs of any kind of enforcement activity.
Well, and I would think it would probably compel property owners, that say they want to sell the property and there's an assessment, or, I mean.
And we have the process outlined in our ordinance, and we can provide the fire department with some forms for them to use. What you'll look towards is likely a public hearing at our July meeting, where you would be approving the list of properties to place special assessments on for the upcoming tax year.
Just like the unpaid trash bills.
Exactly the
Okay.
same process.
Any other further comments? Can I have a motion on approval of staff recommendations for items 17A and 17B?
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of the City Council of City Hemet of California approving the Sixth Amendment in the amount of $25,000 to the agreement for services between the City of Hemet and A Suite Abatement for a total contract amount not to exceed $83,300 per city fiscal year, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. And also for 17B, adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, declaring a hazardous condition pursuant to Government Code Section 39560 relating to weeds, rubbish, and refuse upon parkways or private property within the city, and set a public hearing on May 28th, 2024 for objections to the proposed weed abatement.
Second.
Oh.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kendrick, second by Councilmember Lilienthal. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Kendrick.
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa.
Yes.
Councilmember Lilienthal.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson.
Yes.
Mayor Mills.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to approve both items 17A and 17B staff recommendations.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will move to item 17C. Can we have a staff presentation, please?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and Mayor Online. I do not have a presentation, but I will give you a brief verbal overview of the policy before you and then answer any questions you may have at the end. The recovered organic waste and recycled content paper product procurement policy before you this evening is something that is a requirement of SB 1383, a regulation that is in the implementation phase to reduce climate pollutants. The largest objective of this regulation is to recycle organic material and keep it out of landfills. In December of 2021, the City Council adopted a revised solid waste management ordinance, which is Chapter 62 of the Hemet Municipal Code, to set in motion many requirements needed to comply with SB 1383. In this ordinance, specifically Section 62-24, this recovered organic waste product and recycled content paper procurement policy is referenced. The policy's objectives are to protect and conserve natural resources, water, and energy, minimize the city's contribution to climate change, pollution, and solid waste disposal, comply with the state requirements as contained in the California Code of Regulations, known as SB 1383, procurement regulations to procure a specified amount of recovered organic waste products to support organic waste disposal reduction targets and markets for products made from recycled and recovered organic waste materials, to purchase recycled content paper products and recycled content printing and writing paper, and to comply with the City of Hemet Municipal Code Section 62-24 procurement requirements for city departments, direct service providers, and vendors. Last but not least, this policy qualifies as an environmentally preferable purchase policy that is required to apply for various grants from CalRecycle. And that includes the local government waste tire cleanup grant that the City Council authorized staff to apply for earlier this evening. That concludes my overview of this item, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Any comments from the council?
I don't have any.
Thank you for your presentation.
So how many members of the council have taken the tour of the anaerobic digester in Paris?
Me?
So that's where a lot of the compost is going to be coming from that we'll be using under this policy. It's a fascinating process.
Very good. Can I have a motion on this item?
Move staff recommendation.
Second.
City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Krupa.
Yes.
Motion, sorry, and Councilmember Lilienthal is the second. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Kendrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
We will now move to item 17D. Can we have a staff presentation, please?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll briefly introduce this item. This is consideration of a request from the Western Science Center exempting the construction of the Western Center Academy, a charter school on that property. They're multi-purpose building from the City of Hemet's development impact fee for bridges, signals, and thoroughfares. That's a fee that covers each of those three types of improvements. The Western Center Academy is a charter school, focuses on a STEM education, and they have a multi-purpose building that is intended to provide space for indoor lunches, other recurring activities like pep rallies, science fairs, things like that, that the students that already attend the school will participate in. The Academy, through the Western Science Center, has requested that the city waive approximately $35,000. That's the amount of this fee. What this would do is it would reduce potential revenue that the city could use in the future for bridges, signals, and thoroughfares. We've worked closely with the city attorney to evaluate a recent United States Supreme Court decision to ensure that our consideration of this request would be consistent with that direction. And so we've designed an approach here, an action and recommendation that would consist of authorizing the deferral of the development impact fee for bridges, signals, and thoroughfares for the construction of this multi-purpose building. But to analyze the baseline today, analyze the impact over the next 3 years, and essentially authorize the city manager to complete the waiver of the fee, should the council be interested in authorizing that upon demonstration that there was no noticeable impact or discernible impact in the traffic associated with the improvement. So the city attorney and I are available to answer any additional questions you have on this matter.
So do I understand that it would be on hold for like 3 years and then at that time we could waive it at that time?
So the process that I recommended as part of the resolution is that the development impact fee that they're requesting the waiver on would be deferred for up to 3 years. And that would give sufficient time for the project to be built and we're not expecting a super complicated traffic analysis for a single building at a school. But we are going to be looking for some objective evidence that demonstrates that there's no discernible impact. What they're saying makes sense. It's a charter school. They're not building any new classrooms. That's why the city actually has jurisdiction over the building. If it had classrooms, it'd be through the division of the state architect. But you know, we are entering a new era. I think that we need to understand that development impact fees, the nexus between those fees and the projects and the proportionality of the fee to the impact are going to be more heavily scrutinized going forward when you have a project like this, where a reasonable argument could be made that no impact to traffic will occur from the proposed development. We already have a process in place to consider a waiver or reduction, but it's staff's opinion that waiver or reduction should be based on some objective evidence, not simply on an argument that makes sense conceptually, but we want to make sure that we have some objective criteria that we were applying. And so this gives them time to develop that. We're anticipating, I call it gate counts, but essentially a traffic count at the school showing before and after construction that we don't have any increased traffic as a result of it.
Any other comments?
Yeah, so the yeah, sure. It's late. Actually, not late, is it? The calculation of increased traffic, it would have to be on their property because you can't have it coming through the gate because you've got 3 other entities out there.
We're essentially thinking of a traffic count at the driveway.
Yeah.
This is, again, it's with the Sheets v. El Dorado County opinion that came out last week. We can no longer be safe in issuing broad categorical development impact fees. We have to look at more individualized considerations. Now, I don't think that necessarily means we have to do a project by project calculation, unless, the Ninth Circuit says that we do.
Right.
But I do think that when you have a project like this, which is coming forward, it's a school. They're proposing a building that existing students will use. There's no additional students being coming in or being facilitated. I do think that it makes sense that it's unlikely to create any additional traffic. But our development impact fee program is just based on square footage.
Right.
Right. So it makes sense to defer it. That doesn't impact their timeline. And like I said, I think we're essentially looking at gate counts before and after to demonstrate a lack of impact.
So let me ask you a hypothetical. So within this 3-year period of deferral, they decide that they need to build 10 more classrooms. What happens?
Well, so first off, that would go through a division of state architect,
okay,
right? Not through the city. My understanding would be that they are that while they may be looking to expand in the future, they're not nearly as far along in that process as they are in this one.
Okay.
So I think that we can be reasonably assured that this building will be completed before any future classrooms are completed. And I'd highly recommend that we get that gate count before. But, you know, we also considered that, you know, there may be some modest increase in traffic. And so if you look at the language of the resolution, it does allow the city manager, if there is a discernible impact, but it's relatively minimal, to process a reduction in fee that is proportionate. So that we did have a little bit of flexibility there just in case the numbers come back and it shows an increase
Okay.
for some reason.
Thank you.
In the first cohort in my Mayor Mentees program, I'm not going to say their names, but there were 2 students who actually reached out to me on behalf of all of the students, asking if there's anything the city of Hemet could do to help them build something that they can, where they can eat inside or play inside, because they don't have anything, something where they could be inside. They always have to meet outside somewhere, and so they don't have a space for themselves to. And so they were asking me if there's anything we could do to help them out. I also asked them, did a teacher or some administrator put you up to this? And they were like, no, because they said they can see all the building materials, and they asked about it, and they said that there are things that they had to do, and they're like asking. So the students took it upon themselves to ask me, is there anything that we could do? I kind of slept on it, but seeing it come right now is kind of weird.
It's good. Any other comments? Can I have a motion on this item? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from WOC exempting the construction of the Western Center Academy multipurpose building.
And I'll second that.
City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
We have a motion by Councilmember Lilienthal, second by Councilmember Krupa. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Kendrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Mills.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
We will now move on to City Council and staff reports. City Council Member Krupa, would you like to start?
I would. And my first request is John Paul, if you would remove Investment Oversight and Planning Commission from my list to make it shorter. Didn't have a lot of activity on most of these this month. The big thing for RCTC, of course, was that, as was talked about earlier tonight, that the commission did approve the traffic relief plan that you saw. And I do urge all of you to go through it, go to the website and just see all of the areas with the percentages of allocation in this aspirational plan that we have put through that costs a whole lot of money. But it's a good plan. We just need to find money to do it. Other than that, there were a lot of activities in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure most of us were at most all of them. So I will just highlight the pickleball, the fishing tournament, Hemet Valley Art Association. To me, the major one was the dedication of the tree and plaque that we did for Carly Meyer. Also, I attended virtually the MSRC meeting for AQMD. I love all of these initials. MSRC is the Mobile Source Reduction Committee, or reducing air pollution from mobile vehicles. And in that, it's interesting how they get a lot of money not a lot, under 100 million every year to give to cities for reduction of mobile source. Basically, it's for their, for fleet, for installing electric, what do you call them? electric stations instead of gas stations, and doing things like that. But the environmental aspect of building electric charging facilities is hampering everybody in that most of these people have to ask for extensions in the money that they do get because they can't get through environmental to stop the pollution. So it's almost a catch-22. We want to do this, but you can't do that because what you want to do causes a negative action and a reaction, and it ends up kind of being gobbledygook. But we did extend several $1 million and have started the new fiscal plan a month early so that we can allocate additional funds. Today, I attended a barbecue at the police station, and I just want to commend all of the barbecue cookers. I think the chief and Captain Brock and somebody else did all of the barbecue. The meat was phenomenal. The beans were great. Everything. It was a great luncheon. So thank you very much for that, honoring the police volunteers. And then after that, I went to Marietta for the Southwest Higher Education Committee meeting. And we're making headway. That is to see if we can get an expanded UC San Marcos in Temecula at the MSJC campus. And a lot of good comments, a lot of good ideas on where to start sourcing and how to source a letter campaign to foundations and those entities, corporations and individuals in Southern Riverside County who have the means to be large donors philanthropically, to get their names on buildings, to get their names on rooms, and this type of thing, extremely well attended. And out of that, so put on your calendar November 8th, because that is the MSJC Gala, their annual event, and some big announcements on how to fund the 18 million that we need to do the tenant improvements to get them onto that campus, how we need to fund it so that we can get UC San Marcos a little bit closer so that all of our kids don't have so far to go when they want to go to and get a 4-year degree. SCAG annual conference is coming up in the desert on May 2nd and 3rd. And it seems like everybody else in the world is scheduling things on May 2nd and 3rd. So it's like, come on, people, talk to each other. This is crazy. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kendrick.
Well, I have been out of town at a couple conferences and been sick. So I don't have much to report, but the Planning Commission did meet on April 16th and their item was to conduct Brown Act training. So I was really happy that our commissioners got that training. So that's all I have.
Councilmember Lilienthal.
For myself, Community Action Partnership was canceled because we didn't meet quorum. So I don't have anything to report for that, but I did want to take the rest of my time, maybe 30 seconds, a moment of silence for retired fire engineer for the city of Hemet. His name was Bill Jevney. I had the opportunity to attend his memorial on Saturday, and he was hired in 1997 and served the city of Hemet for 29 years. He was hired in 1968 and he retired in 1997. And so if we could we take a moment of silence for him? Thank you.
I will go in order and I won't forget about you, Mayor Males. I did a lot of the same things that Councilmember Krupa. I was running into her quite a bit the last couple of weeks. We had a lot of things going on in the city this last week, and you can tell that we're growing and that we're trying to help our community, be active and involved. And, you know, there's a lot of athletic outdoor things that are going on because our demographics have changed and there's more families and more kids and everything, and you can really tell it. So the pickleball courts was great. And, I know some people were very impressed. Jan from Valley Wide couldn't believe like how many pickleball players came in their cute little outfits and they were ready to play, and they had different little leagues that were there. And he's like, wow, you know, so they really came out in force and they were excited about our 4 pickleball courts that we got redone through Public Works. So thank you. That was fun. I did a lot of the same things, like I said. One thing, Malcolm and I were both at the I-9 Sports Spring Season Grand Opening, and that was last Saturday. So we have like 3 softball, baseball leagues now in town, but the I-9 Sports, they do other sports also. So they've got like soccer and maybe flag football, and there was something else too, I think. And then they're going to add something, one other sports they said. So that's great. Yesterday I got to go to Diamond Valley Middle School for Earth Day, and that was a lot of fun. I went, and Ben, our economic development director, went, and you know, it's so nice to see him so enthused about Hemet. I got to tell you, one thing he said yesterday really stuck with me. Today I was thinking about it. He's so enthusiastic, and he just really wants to help Hemet. So he said, there's so much land here. There's so much open space. You can build up, you can build sideways. He was just so enthralled because where he came from previously, it was a densely populated, built out city, and there was not a lot of opportunity there. So he's ready to help the city of Hemet. So that's great. Yes. And thank you to the police department. That was an excellent lunch today. So, and there were several, ribbon cuttings the last couple weeks. Today I went to another one for,
Pacific Manufacturing.
yeah, Pacific Manufactured Homes. And what I found interesting about this is they've got quite a few models. They are located throughout Southern California. And this one is on State Street. It used to be one of the Moz manufactured company, you know, businesses, and they took it over from them. But they were talking about the ADUs. So they had 3 really good sized manufactured homes there that were like 900 square feet. One was 1,100 something, and one was 1,200 something. And they all qualified for ADUs. And I got to go in, I looked at all of them, and they were, you know, there was another couple there that had moved back to Hemet, and, you know, they didn't have as much income, and they were really excited about them and that. So it's another good business that we have in town. And tomorrow is Dave's Hot Chicken grand opening. Everybody's been asking. So that's tomorrow. So with that, I will ask Mayor Males, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been up to recuperating. I had my surgery on the 15th on last Monday, not this recent Monday, but the previous one. They took a foot of colon out of me, and that was cancerous, and now I'm cancer free. So I'm pretty happy about that. Now I just got to get the staples out and I'll be on the move. I have an appointment on the 30th to remove my staples. So, you know, it's funny because I had pajamas on and I came to load this program for remote access, and I didn't know if they were going to be able to see me. So I went and found a big pair of pants I had that I could barely zip up, but I didn't want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance and lose them. So I'm doing good. But anyways, other than that, I haven't been anywhere. I don't know what else is going on. I know you had some ribbon cuttings, and I'm happy for that. And you've been doing a good job, Jackie. You did a good job tonight, and that's really, really nice. I am a little concerned about how our negotiations are going with our unions, and I don't want to step on your toes, city manager, but I would like for us to have a closed session so we can discuss this. I can't see spending $100,000, $200,000 on lawyers trying to negotiate with our unions when we could use that money for something else. I don't know how much we've spent already, and I don't know how much they plan on spending. But if someone would make a motion to have a closed meeting so we can discuss this, I would appreciate that. And I would also appreciate if we do to have it after the 30th.
Second him. I'll second him.
We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Kendrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa.
Yeah.
Councilmember Lilienthal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Males.
Yes,
That motion passes 5-0.
thank you. With that, then that's all I have to say, and have a good evening. Thank you guys for inviting me into the meeting remotely. I appreciate it.
Good to hear you. It's good to hear that you're doing well. So.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And I can't believe I forgot to mention Ramona Bull.
I just got a text message and said, you didn't mention Ramona and neither did Jackie.
So Ramona Bowl is happening now. And as I said earlier, it's the Troubadours' 100th anniversary, and we're going to honor them on Saturday. And I've said this before, the director is so excited about the cast this year. They have a new sound system. I was a greeter out there this weekend, and I could hear it pretty clearly way over where I was, where the stairs come up. And it's such an improvement on the sound system out there. So that's a big improvement. And it runs this weekend yet, Saturday, Sunday, and the first weekend in May. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So I encourage everybody to go out there.
And what is happening Saturday?
And that's what I was going to say. So Saturday is our big Hemet Beautiful Day. And it's not only just a cleanup day, it's a beautification day. So we're going to be planting some plants around different businesses, the library, maybe some residents. We're going to do some cleaning, painting, maybe graffiti removal. Wherever we can find something to make our city look better, we're going to do it. And you know what? We have about 400 volunteers as of yesterday. So everybody's coming together, and there's going to be a kickoff at 7:00 in the morning at West Valley High School. We're going to have entertainment, refreshments. And then when we come back, the fire department is going to be cooking for us, and they're going to have hamburgers and hot dogs. So everybody can have a little bit of refreshments in the morning, and then you can come back for lunch when we're all done. And it should last about 3 hours or so, the actual cleanup time. So we're looking forward to it. I am. Thank you. Oh, yes. You can say it. Go ahead.
And then don't forget about our Hemet PD's Autism Acceptance and Resource Fair. That'll be at 1 for several hours. I don't know how, 1 to 5, I believe. So show up for that. Support your Hemet Police Department and the awareness of autism.
Thank you, Malcolm. City Manager.
I have no report. Thank you.
So Mayor, ordinarily now would be the time to adjourn. However, because we added 2 closed session items, it'd be appropriate to recess into closed session. And then I would say we do have the option to come back and give a public report on closed session, or we can give the public report at the next city council meeting. I recommend giving the report at the next city council meeting so that no member of the public feels like they have to stick around.
Okay, so at 9:40, we are going to recess, and we're going to go into closed session, and we will give the report at our next meeting. Thank you, everybody.